I'm Eldred Tellis, founder, director of Sankalp Rehabilitation Trust, and I am extremely pleased to moderate today's discussion. Our goal is to understand why India may not have timely access to promising HIV prevention tool, especially long-acting PrEP, and what we can do to change this. Today's panel will definitely help us answer all these questions with clarity and honesty. Around the world, long-acting lenacapavir is generating excitement because it can be taken just twice a year and has shown extremely good results in the trials, Purpose 1, Purpose 2 trials. For communities who struggle with daily oral PrEP, this will be transformational. But in India, the access remains uncertain. Restrictive licensing conditions, large number of patent applications, including some very weak and repetitive ones, regulatory delays, a lack of national PrEP rollout, which raises questions about how long-acting PrEP would be rolled out when approved. In fact, there was an update on the latest lenacapavir access where the DGCI decision against Hetero not to waive the phase 3 clinical trials. In fact, on this issue, we have a letter which is in the chat, and the idea is to send a public appeal to the drug controller. We want all of you, if possible, to join. You can join as organizations as well. You can add your signatures to this letter. To unpack all these issues, we have an eminent speaker list here. 4 speakers, Leena Mengnani, Loon Gangte, Chaitali Rao, and Nehal Rahul. Together, they will give us a full picture from law to policy to corporate behavior to community experience. Thank you for being here. And I will first ask Leena to speak. Leena is a public health lawyer and a leading advocate for access to medicines nationally and internationally. She will explain to us why access to lenacapavir is being restricted, the problems with voluntary license, and the global efforts underway to secure fair access. Over to you, Leena.
So I hope everyone can hear me. I'm very pleased to be part of this webinar, and I think it comes at a very critical moment when we are, trying to turn the tide on HIV infections. So it's World AIDS Day, on Monday, and I just wanted to highlight that perhaps one of the most crucial points we should remember is that perhaps India is facing a critical moment in the opportunity it has to end AIDS nationally and globally, particularly well positioned. It's not too heavily dependent on external funding. Has moved the HIV program systematically to domestic funding. It's very well positioned on to bring in very affordable generic versions of lenacapavir, reducing prices to already to $40 per person. And this is a key moment for all of us, and we are all holding our breath globally to see what happens in the Indian regulatory and intellectual property framework and patent offices and of course the FDA. So the most important point I wanted to say is that almost everyone's seen the Purpose 1 and Purpose 2 studies. But the but lenacapavir basically offered almost 100% protection to the most vulnerable. That included sex workers, transgender persons, gay men, other men who have sex with men, people who use drugs. So this was something that had been really, really transformative, considering that a large part of the new infections were represented among the marginalized communities. Of the 1.3 million new infections globally that happen every year. And these numbers have been steady for 3 years. So we've not been able to bring down new infections significantly in the last 3 years. And we definitely need, more effective HIV prevention tools to be added to the toolkit for prevention as they stand now. So this is what I wanted to say. Now, one of the key things that I wanted to also say is what's happening across the world. South Africa, for example, is on the cusp of introducing lenacapavir in its prevention program. There's a lot of criticism of the South African program on its lack of scale up, on its lack of ambition, and it definitely wants to scale up access to lenacapavir. One of the primary problem it faces is that the Trump administration, for example, had as arbitrarily excluded South Africa from receiving the PEPFAR, receiving funding from the PEPFAR program for lenacapavir. So generics will help South Africa scale up, and therefore, Indian manufacturers are very well placed to offer the price of USD $40 currently, and could even reduce it to $25, which is about rupees 2,000 to 25. So that's where we are globally. So one of the things about lenacapavir is that it has shown remarkable efficacy, and it is a significant advancement on what we have currently for PrEP, oral PrEP, which we call, So it reduces stigma, it moves people away from a daily dose to twice a year injections. It offers something to vulnerable populations that wasn't in the HIV prevention programs before. So I wanted to say that. Now, if we are to get access to affordable generic lenacapavir from India, one of the key things is the regulatory process in India. Now, we all know the US FDA has fast-tracked approval. The European Union gave it priority in its registration. The MHRA has just approved it. And all of this has been done on the basis of Purpose 1, Purpose 2 clinical trial evidence. Now, if India insists on a local clinical trial, that would mean that it would delay the introduction of the generic into 2027. That's the point I want to make. There's a critical moment at which the Indian FDA has to see whether it wants to prioritize registration, as the US FDA has done, MHRA has done, the European Medicine Agency has done. Should it insist on local clinical trials or provide a waiver? This is a key question before the Indian FDA, and that will determine whether we have access to generic lenacapavir in 2026, or will it be delayed to 2027? And that's what we are hoping to make the point publicly, that perhaps this is a point at which this drug deserves, in a registration process, a waiver from local clinical trial, and perhaps a post-approval phase 4 could be substituted for that requirement. Now, lastly, I wanted to say is this, and I do not want to go into massive details because there's a very good FAQ out there from civil society on the voluntary license. But what essentially the voluntary licenses does, it picks and chooses who can produce HIV medicine. Now, India, starting from Cipla, has a very good, robust manufacturing base for HIV medicines. You got Aurobindo, you got Lupin, you got Macleod, you've got Mylan, you've got MCure, all of them ready to produce this drug. But out of that, you just have Hetero, Mylan, MCure, and Reddy's who've received the license. Key manufacturers such as Aurobindo, API producer and a finished formulation capacity, injectable capacity, did not receive the license. Lupin did not receive the license. And lastly, the voluntary license did basically left majority of Latin America out, left Malaysia out, and of course did not a single Chinese manufacturer received a license as well. So what we are saying is essentially that Egypt and Argentinian patent offices have rejected the compound patent. India could do so as well, and it could open up generic competition among those who did not receive a license as well. Those manufacturers could serve nationally as well as globally, particularly critical at which both the patent office and India's regulatory body play a critical role. And I'm going to stop here, and I just wanted to say this, that we do want the drug to be available without delay, considering the fact that this is the demand that HIV activists as well as marginalized communities have been making. This morning, Dr. Pratim Ray made this point that if we were to we've currently sex workers do not have access to PrEP, and it would be a very useful prevention aspect to add to the work that they do with sex workers in Sonakachi in West Bengal. So I'm going to stop here and hand it over to the next speaker, and Eldred. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lena. As you said, India has been well positioned, and we all know, as in the case of the ARVs, when the prices were astronomical, it was our generic manufacturer who came to the aid, and Cipla first produced the ARVs at $1 a day. And of course, it came down exponentially, and then the rest is history. And we definitely can see that India can have this history in the making again, and we need to do all we can to speed up the process. For my next speaker, I'll ask Chaitali Rao, who is a scientist and a lawyer. She is a senior researcher and legal advisor with the Third World Network. She will walk us through Lenacapavir's Indian patent landscape, Section 3D, and the multiple lenacapavir patents filed, and Gilead's practices that abuse India's patent system. Over to you, Chaitali.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eldred. And thank you all for joining this very important briefing. So today we are here to discuss one of the very critical issues that affect global health, and especially for HIV prevention and treatment. We are discussing here the future of lenacapavir. I, as Lena very lucidly put forward all the points, I would just like to talk upon the patent perspective. So we all know that India is the world's pharmacy. What India decides both on the regulatory front as well as on the patent front for the market entry will determine whether millions of people across Africa, Asia, and the global south will, when and where will they receive this breakthrough medicine. So this presentation actually lays out the facts, the risks, and the urgent steps that are actually needed to protect public health. So the presentation actually explains how lenacapavir, which is a revolutionary long-acting HIV medicine, is being surrounded by a lot of secondary patents filed by Gilead. So we, in terminology, call this as a patent thicket. It is actually a fencing that you protect around. For example, if you want to protect your house, you normally build a fence around this. So in this case, what Gilead is doing is that to protect the main compound patent, they build a lot of secondary patents around it. So this could well extend the monopoly of the drug well beyond the expiry of the base patent. So I think it also shows how Section 3D was precisely created to prevent all this kind of an abuse, and why the decision that should be made by the Indian Patent Office will set the precedent for long-acting injectables as well as all the just a second, yeah, for all the other future HIV prevention tools. So at the moment, our goal is to ensure that lenacapavir remains accessible, affordable, and free from these unjustified patent monopolies. So this is a bird's eye view of how Gilead has actually filed its patent application. So I will give a very clearer view, but you can just see that these are the patents that Gilead has filed on lenacapavir in India. So it started with filing a compound patent, which was a Markush patent. Markush is like a broad patent which covers millions and millions of compounds. And in that patent, lenacapavir is not listed. So it started by filing that kind of a patent. And you can see how slowly it has staggered and filed multiple patents on it. So it then filed another compound patent, formulation patents, salt patents, process patents, composition patents, and prodrug patents. Now, these patents are the patent filing by Gilead has not stopped at the moment. It is still in the process of filing multiple patents on the drug. One thing I think it's very important for us to understand is that if you look at Gilead's voluntary license, you can clearly see that in comparison to other countries, Gilead has filed the maximum number of patents in India. Now, this has been very strategically planned because, as Lena just said, that, and she was very clear in saying that India has a very robust manufacturing capacity. So in the voluntary license, only 4 companies are covered from India. But India, other companies like Aurobindo, Cipla, Lupin, and Sun, all of them have very robust manufacturing capacities. So they've just locked in 4 producers from India, but all the others are still pending. So in case it is just trying to protect its monopoly in India by filing so many patents. So just a very simplified version of it, if you can look at it, they filed a compound patent in the form of Markush. They filed another compound patent covering lenacapavir. Then they went on to file a formulation patent for lenacapavir, 2 salt forms, one as a sodium salt and the other as a choline salt. Then they also went on to file process and intermediate patents. These like intermediates and process patents are 5 in number. The numbers that are listed in bracket are the numbers of patents it has filed for all of these. Then it filed a composition patent, and then it also filed prodrug patents. So the process is not ended. There is also another process patent that it has filed, which has already been granted in India. So this is how the actual simplified patent family for lenacapavir looks like in India. So if you look at it, the multiple strategies, so at the moment, it has filed 18 plus applications in India in a period span of 10 years. We still don't know the ones which have not been published by the patent office. And on this, oppositions have been filed on 6 applications. These applications, the oppositions are in the various stages of examinations at the Indian Patent Office. And these have been filed by civil society organizations, including Sankalp Rehabilitation, Delhi Network of Positive People, as well as AIDS Healthcare Foundation. So till the moment, what the impact has been on these oppositions is that in 2 of the applications, Gilead has reduced the claims. In one, it had filed 40 claims, and during the patent opposition process hearing, it has reduced it to a single claim. Similarly, in one of the other applications, it has filed 70 claims. And from those 70, in the process of the opposition, it has reduced them to 15. Now, we must also here understand that there has been a delay from the patent office in the adjudication of these patents. For example, in one of the patent applications, the last hearing was done an year back, and in another one, it was like 1.5 years back. So the patent office has also delayed the process, and they are not coming out with the adjudication of the patents for which the hearing has been completed. Now, it is very important for us to understand that we have a provision in India, Indian Patent Act, to prevent this kind of an evergreening that companies normally resort to. This is a very normal technique that the multinational companies normally resort to. So now this is called as Section 3D of the Indian Patents Act, and this acts as a firewall against these evergreenings. So it actually clearly states that new forms of the known substance, for example, as I just talked about, that Gilead has filed 2 salt forms. So the Section 3D clearly says that new forms, salts, polymorphs, or derivatives cannot be patented unless they show an enhanced therapeutic efficacy. Now, this flowchart simply shows that when a new form or a polymorph is filed, there is a test of enhanced therapeutic efficacy. And if that has not been demonstrated, the patent should be rejected. In India, we have very robust cases where where the patent office is actually precedents are there. For example, in the Novartis case, Novartis was also for a salt form of a compound. So Indian Patent Office must exactly apply what is written. There should not be any dilution simply because these are a multinational corporations. And the decision in Supreme Court's case of Novartis one in Union of India actually rejects secondary evergreening, that India should not reward trivial pharmaceutical tweaks. So I think Lenacapavir's secondary filings must be assessed with the same rigor. Otherwise, Section 3D of India becomes meaningless. As Lena just pointed out also, that there have been rejections in other countries. For example, you can see that in Egypt, it rejected 2 applications for lenacapavir. This is actually the compound patent. The compound base patent has been rejected by the Egyptian Patent Office. And similarly, in Argentina also, they've rejected the compound patents. So these rejections actually reaffirm, because patentability is based on all the criteria of novelty, inventive step, and industrial application. These countries also follow the same principles, and they have rejected the application. So it clearly shows that these companies do not allow multinationals to violate public health obligations. So India also has very strong legal tools as compared to these 2 countries. So if Argentina and Egypt can reject these patents, India must not act as an outlier in these cases. Just the second last slide. I think it's very important that here in this case, public health is at stake. If we keep on granting monopoly timelines to the base patent, and then a lot of it will block at the moment, the current filings, if all the patents are granted, Gilead already has a monopoly of 10 years on this drug. And then you can see the price impact. The voluntary license companies are giving it for $40 as against what Gilead is charging in US at 42,250 per year. So these kinds of patents, if granted, the monopoly will perpetuate. And I think India's position should be very clear, as Leena said, that because India has a lot of other manufacturers, only four companies have at the moment been locked into the voluntary licensing because they cannot supply to other countries. But we must know that only 120 countries have been covered under the voluntary license. The entire Latin American region, including Brazil and all those countries, have been left out. The Middle Eastern countries have been left out. Then similarly, Russia and other car countries have also been left out. So for these Indian other manufacturers of API like Cipla, Lupin and Orbindo can supply to these countries at a cheaper price as compared to what Gilead is at the moment charging. So it is very important that India must apply all these regulatory, India must apply the stricter patentability criteria that it has. And I think it also is a big question on India's institutional credibility, the credibility of the Indian Patent Office, because Indian Patent Office now faces a very crucial test. It has to decide between the pharmacy of the developing world or it yields to the pharmaceutical pressure. And I think it also casts an obligation as to how strongly the Indian Patent Office can put in Section 3D and apply it rigorously to the patent applications that are there. I will just like to close on it from where I started, that lenacapavir is actually a very breakthrough medicine, but the breakthrough and access to it depends upon how India resolves and put forwards it. If Gilead tries to use this patent evergreening to maintain that monopoly, India has a law and it has a precedent and it also has a moral authority to say no. So I think we must ensure that 3D is very rigorously enforced and all non-meritorious patents for lenacapavir are rejected. The decisions that we make in the coming months will have a ripple effect, as Leena said, in all the continents. This will also determine how Global South will get access to these transformative tools. So at the moment, we are not just talking about a patent debate, we are also talking about a public health imperative, and we are also talking about moral obligations. I think it is also a test of India's global leadership and how India comes forward and resolves to all these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaitali. You were very clear, but I must say a little fast for our interpreters. So I will suggest the next two speakers to go slightly slower. That, we've had these patents and multiple patent filings, which will take it from 2034 well beyond 2042. And that's something that really we cannot be tolerated. We have a battle on our hands and we need to fight this battle together. Of course, she did say that the price was $42,252, which was the initial price, finally launched by Trump in July for $28,218, which was also too high for anyone of us in India, almost 24 lakhs, especially looking at the fact that we can get it for just $40. And as Leena was saying, if in large amounts it is manufactured, it can come down as low as $25. And as Protim said earlier in our press conference today, that would be the amount that they're charging for oral PrEP for a month. We will now go to our next speaker, who's Nehal Rawal. He's a public health practitioner working directly with communities on PrEP, oral PrEP access, and HIV prevention at the HIV Alliance. He will share the ground realities, the current status of PrEP access in India, how communities are navigating the system, and the practical questions about how long-acting PrEP could be delivered in the absence of a national program. So over to Nehal.
Right. Thank you, Doctor. Good evening, everyone. I would be talking a little bit different than what we have heard about as of now in terms of patterning and regulation and all that. I would just talk how, what is the current access of oral PrEP in India, understanding of the community about PrEP and the HIV prevention methods, how India historically have kind of, in a national program have behaved, and a little bit of the private practitioners' pattern and behavior. So basically, when we work with MSM and transgender community, our experience has been the access of oral PrEP is an issue in terms of since it is not in the program, since it's not in the national program, how one is going to get it. So they have to get it through either private practitioner. Um, uh, this is only for the people who can afford it, and if one cannot afford it, then whoever the agencies are working for the communities, they have to go through them. So this is the understanding of.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm so sorry. Could you turn on your camera? Is that possible?
Oh, yes, sure. Oh,
Great. Thank you.
okay. Is that okay? My apologies. Yes.
Yeah.
So when the understanding of PrEP, let us start with the the ground reality of HIV prevention method. When we talk about oral PrEP, even the understanding of the oral PrEP for general community in men who have sex with men and transgender is in Hindi, if I would say, एक गोली ले लेंगे तो HIV खत्म हो जाएगा. So it's like I can get away with HIV by taking one pill, not realizing that it's not one pill. It's it's actually a long, method that you have to follow. There's a pattern. There's a protocol you need to follow. There are clinical tests you have to get it done before you start PrEP. So so this is something the we need to realize that when we talk about Lena, the even the community community do not even aware of fully aware of the oral PrEP, what is easily available in the market currently. However, the access is an issue always. Second thing is the adherence issue. When one would start with oral PrEP, he or she has to continue with it, and every month till his or her behavior falls into the lower risk medium, and that is also an issue because the thought which we have, including the national program, is what if everyone get access to PrEP? There will be a can of STI we are opening and all that. We need to little bit be very clear about it, is that it's not, PrEP is not for everyone, oral PrEP is not for everyone, Lena is not going to be for everyone. It is for one who thinks that his or her behavior is risky, and he or she wants to opt for this one of the prevention method which is available. So it's not an ART, right? That government has to give it to everyone who is affected. This is just we just have to let it be available for people who need it or who wants it, rather than thinking is that what if everyone will get it, then there will be no use of condom and all that. So that thought which is there in the general HIV sector, we may have to also question that before we at the time of the regulation and the registration we work upon. The other thing which I wanted to bring in is the option which the access of option which community has right now is the private practitioner or either other other agencies because there is no national program in it. Private practitioner, to get through private practitioner is always a challenge. Our doctors are not trained for HIV prevention methods, uh, and if trained, not updated. There's a national guideline on PrEP, published by NACO, which needs an updation also. However, there is a WHO guideline also, and I'm not sure that how many private practitioners are aware of those guidelines and how they are following those guidelines with the clients, because there is no control mechanism or check. There are no checks on the private practitioners implementation of any HIV prevention, naming oral PrEP as well as when Lena comes into place. So that is something a big concern for the community and for all of us. The last thing which I want to mention is that with all the regulator concerns and pricing concerns and everything, because community, we need to realize that while implementing the oral PrEP, community is not even able to afford a 400 rupees a month bottle, which we get them access to. How they're going to afford 24 lakh rupees a year, which is 20 lakh rupees 6 months, which is 4 lakh rupees a month. So I'm not sure how it's going to work out. 4 lakh rupees a month in terms of if I divide it by monthly, contribution. Even 6 months, once in a 6 months, 24 lakh rupees, even if it comes down to whatever it comes down to, still the affordability is going to be an issue. So at the time of the initiation of the implementation itself, we need to focus on the availability, access, and the price also, that the price is for the community whom we actually would help this Lena, because Lena for transgender community and MSM community, it would work wonder if it happens. However, the main question is that how all is this going to work out without national program? Right now, the current scenario with the oral PrEP is also a question where there are dating apps, namely Grinder and few others, where people would just post that I have a PrEP, and so when I someone has mentioned something, and I think I need to address that. I would just say community, transgender communities, and men who have sex with men, rather than using any acronyms for them. And my apologies for that. Just a 1 second. I'm just going to take a half a second. So without national program, I'm not sure how the implementation is going to work out. Thank you.
Thank you, Neha. And of course, we are definitely hoping that if there's a PrEP rollout of long-acting lenacapavir, it's something that has to come from the government side. And if it can come down to $25, I'm sure the government can afford that. We had a similar rollout with sofosbuvir when we got the price down to fairly low levels. And with the plan to end AIDS by 2030, I'm sure they would have to take this very seriously. I am not sure if we have our fourth speaker with us yet. Is Loon in?
Yes, he is.
Okay, thank you. So, Loon Gante, is a veteran HIV activist and a leader in treatment access campaigns in the Delhi network of Positive People and the ITPC South Asia. He will take a critical look at Gilead's track record and why challenging the company's practices is central in ensuring access. Over to you, Loon.
Thank you, Alred, and for putting me last. Otherwise, I would have missed. Yeah. Okay, first of all, like I said everywhere, my take on lenacapavir is different from all of you, from rest of the world, including my people at ITPC. Yeah, everywhere I'm the odd person. I'm not excited like you all. Why? What do I mean by that? I am for PrEP. I very much like long-acting. Yeah, but I'm not very excited. Why I say this lenacapavir for PrEP is good. Just 2 injection with 4 pill on the first day, 2 pills, second day 2 pill, and every 6 months 1 injection. It's very good. So PrEP is very good, but why I say this is right now we have PrEP. When we said PrEP, people are forgetting that we have in the beginning we have a oral PrEP, FTC and TDF, and after that we have long-acting cabotegravir also, and now it come another long-acting lenacapavir. Why I said I'm not so excited is because I'm a person living with HIV/AIDS, and all my life I work for access to treatment for people living with HIV/AIDS. It doesn't mean that I'm against negative people. No, I'm not against. But right now, 10 million people are still in need of ART, including 3 million children. So when I look at PrEP, it's like there's an oral PrEP, and there's a long-acting PrEP, and there is from the beginning what we have. When we said PrEP, we forget, but condom is also PrEP, yeah? It's not it? Condom. In the beginning, we have condom. That is still, I think it's a PrEP. In fact, one of the best PrEP. So that's why I said to my people also in the time, this time also in Hyderabad, we just come and I said, this pharma company, it's time the medicine is coming. The way they project, I think we all get crazy and we all get fed. And we become, I say that we all intentionally or unintentionally, we become a sales representative of pharma company. Everyone is crazy about lenacapavir. Yes, I'm very much. But to me, it's not the urgent, it's not the priority. It should not come at the cost of those 10 million people who still need ART. To me, that is the most important. And in fact, treatment, antiretroviral treatment is the best prevention. Treatment as prevention. We forget many things. Once the way pharma company project and introduce their medicine, remember a person when they take ARV and when the viral load is undetectable, they cannot infect with sex many times. It's not just a theory. It's a practically we have experienced it, many of us. So, but we need to win. We can't let it win. This what I'm very pissed off about this lenacapavir is Gilead. They're all the time doing this. They do it in tenofovir, they do it in sofosbuvir, they do it now again, giving voluntary license to the product which is not. Yeah, like the lawyer would say, what before you are guilty, everyone is innocent until you are proven guilty. Like that, before they got the patent, it's not their product. So it's not their product. They give a voluntary license to 7 companies for tenofovir also, sofosbuvir also. Now also another 3 companies they give, which is not patent yet in India. So the voluntary license, as Lina and Chaitali has mentioned, I think many of us, including Elred and DNP and other network, for almost 20 years, we have do lots of patent opposition. And we win most of them. So tomorrow, if we win this lenacapavir, not by voluntary license, but if we trash all their patent application and if our opposition already win, not just those 3 people, those 3 companies, but everyone can make it. You see, voluntary license is to me like all this shop in the festive season. They said 50% sale, but there is a small asterisk. When you go inside the shop, you will never see those 50% sale. It will be 20 or 15% sale. But that is how they put in. It's always restrictive. Like Chetali said, the place where they do, like Brazil or Argentina, the place where they do lenacapavir trial, they're not including the license. When they give voluntary license, we need to remember that it's another form of patent now. I think they are not interested in the patent. They just file lots of patent, but anyway, they already give voluntary license also. When I see, I take the screenshot of Chaitali slide. It was crazy. 18, more than 18 plus patent application is there. And I think we have filed about 6 or 7. I think and another 6 or 7 more or 8 needs to be filed. And I think we cannot let it win this Gilead this time. Again, yeah, like we defeat them all the time. Now I think lenacapavir, because in the coming days, now we are talking about PrEP, but most of for the treatment also, most of the thing that in the pipeline is everything will be long acting. Now we are taking ART for 24 hourly, initially 12 hourly, 2 times a day, and now 1 time a day, and now this lenacapavir is giving us 6 monthly. So the era of long acting is just beginning. So it is very, very crucial that we are not just happy with voluntary license, that India is part of the voluntary license. No, India is part of the voluntary license, but we must win this patent so that any company can produce and supply it to anywhere they want, not controlled and not dictated by Gilead. That's how we should go about it. I don't know, the way we talk is Gilead just dump it, and now it is our Indian government headache. Yeah, to me, before they dump it, if Gilead is interested, they should not do it like that. So winning them, opposing them, and winning them, and so that we have a free, the door wide open, not just now. Gilead is standing in the gate, and whoever they let it in, they let it in. No, we need to take out Gilead from the gate, and so that anyone can come in and go out. Like that, I think we need to fight with lenacapavir. But in terms of urgency, like I said in the beginning, to me, it's important, but it's not urgent. When I said urgent, it's not important again, but yeah, the way I see it is, sometimes I am opposed, sometimes I'm for it, but no. Lenacapavir is important, but it's not urgent because, like I said, for the negative people, for preventing negative people to become HIV positive, there's a very, very effective oral PrEP is there, condom is there, cabotegravir is there. So let us also be careful that when all these new drugs come, when lopinavir, ritonavir come, it was a blockbuster. It was a breakthrough drugs. Same with tenofovir, it was a new drug. Recently, we see like dolutegravir, DTZ. It was introduced as the Enzel pill. But soon, people have this complaint. Many are talking about liver, and many are talking about weight loss. But when it was present, it was different. And I'm sure we should also think that tomorrow, when we win all the patent and when our government will start implementing lenacapavir, the implementation part, it will be not easy or simple like some pharmacies handing over a box of pill, because it will require injection. So according to the doctor, no Tom, Dick, and Harry will do injection. It will require a nurse. It will require tender for cotton, syringes, and whatnot. And so lots of logistic also needs to be done. And like Nehal from HIV/AIDS Alliance said, while we are fighting this patent opposition, I think the most important is the preparedness of the community. Many of the people who might be needing the trans community, the MSM community, or even the PLHIV community, yeah, this PrEP is very new thing, and we need to invest in treatment literacy, building up the community so that the real demand can come in. So in the meanwhile, but I also agree with that the CDSO, yeah, the clinical trial waiver, they refuse again. And I find it very hard to understand CDSO. Yeah, last time for Soft, Lina, and me, we go and we ask, and we can, I must say, easily we get sofosbuvir waiver. But when we go for TB LAM, which doesn't go chemical inside our body, they reject again, but they accept sofosbuvir. Now they reject again this LAM clinical trial waiver. I don't know what is their state, on what basis they accept and reject this clinical trial waiver. It's a little bit difficult to understand this. So I will end here. So that is what I have to say. I'm not excited like you all, and rest of the world. Yeah, everyone is crazy about lenacapavir. Yes, I want lenacapavir, but let us also remember those 10 million people who need treatment today, including 3 million children. And we cannot let Gilead win. We must win at all costs. It's Gilead who always cause trouble to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Loon. Yeah, Gilead always caused trouble to us, he says, and we have experiences over the years. Loon, of course, making the point that prevention not at the cost of treatment. This has been the tug of war ever since we've begun treatment, I know, and it has to go hand in hand. Of course, again, I want to emphasize that lenacapavir is not um, being marketed or being talked about as in isolation. It has to come as part of the prevention package. We cannot do without condoms because condoms, we have to accept, are also have brought down STIs, have brought down unwanted pregnancies, etc. So there's a point in everything. Also, of course, that lenacapavir is also used for treatment now, for MDR treatment. There is some use for it in treatment as well. I do not see too many questions, but Pratibha has put up a couple of questions for Leena. Leena, have you looked at the chat? If you can comment on something Pratibha has just put up.
Yeah, thank you. I see some questions. But I think I did answer the voluntary license bit, but I can do it again. I see two questions for Chaitali. Chaitali, you want to go ahead and answer that? And I'll come back to the voluntary licensing issue.
Yeah. Thanks, Ramya, for the question. So, the significance of the Argentinian and Egyptian rejection is very important here because in both the applications that have been rejected there are related to the compound patent for lenacapavir. So, Ramya, if we've used this as a part of our opposition proceedings also, and because now Section 8 has kind of become very frivolous, so we have actually got the decisions from the Argentinian Patent Office and submitted in a rejoinder to the Indian Patent Office. So at least the Indian Patent Office can look into it, and even under that program, they can check with them the reasons for the rejections. So it actually provides a support to our points that we are saying that these patents are not under 3D, these patents should not be granted. And also, I think it provides support to our oppositions that we have put forward in India. So we've already submitted the Argentinian decision and the bulletin and if the everything that is related to that. We are in the process of procuring the Egyptian decisions also. And as soon as we get it, we'll just submit them to the patent office. So you understand under Section 8, earlier this was required to be submitted by the applicant. Now Gilead is no longer under an obligation to submit it. So we are submitting it from our side, being proactive and letting them know that, look, it has been rejected in other jurisdictions. You need to be stringent about granting the patent in Indian Patent Office.
Yeah, thank you, Chaitali. So I just wanted to say that, yeah, thank you, Eldred. Should I go ahead, Eldred?
Called out your name because.
Yeah, I think you're muted. So can I go ahead, Eldred?
Yes, Leena, sure.
Sure. So I just wanted to highlight two very important bits that are critical. So the cost of production studies were done, cost of goods studies were done, and they showed that the prices would come down to below $40 per patient per year, which is about 3,000, a little more than 3,000 rupees per person per year, which is really good news because, we've seen the 99 price cuts before, so it was sort of anticipated that the pricing would be much lower than Gilead's pricing and actually quite competitive considering the number of Indian generic manufacturers. So that's something that's really good to know, that the cost of goods study actually was accurate, and it'll probably be more accurate as we go along and bringing it down to $25, which is little more than 2,000 rupees per patient per person per year. The second point I wanted to make is this, that I think we have to be very careful not to pit this one community against the other. I think it's equally important as salvage regimen for people with advanced HIV disease who may be resistant to other drugs and perhaps will not not benefiting from DTG as they should be. And I just wanted to simply say this, that this is a battle that can only be fought by working together among marginalized communities and HIV networks. Now, HIV networks can't do this hoo-ha, yes, but no. Because whenever the issue of treatment has come up, the whole community has supported them. So I just wanted to say this is very critical point where HIV networks also have to support marginalized communities in getting access to an antiretroviral for PrEP. And this is, we have to be very careful in how clear and straightforward we can be, because governments can get mixed messages, as we know. The last thing I wanted to highlight is that voluntary licenses are obviously very tricky for Indian civil society who are doing patent oppositions, because the very basis of those grant of those voluntary licenses is somehow to defeat the pressure from patent oppositions in preventing Gilead, for example, from getting a monopoly. Now, we could do two things. We could say, as Indian civil society, we can walk away from this. We've got the drug, we've got the generics, we don't need to do anything about it. But I think there's a larger issue at play over here. One is, of course, the work that we do in solidarity with Latin America and other countries who have always stood by us when we have wanted access and we wanted support on pushing back on free trade agreements or other work. And the second thing I wanted to say is this, that this mechanism of choosing a few select companies and not allowing open competition. And I'll just give you an example. Today, one company is making API, the rest of the licensees are buying it from the company. So, between the 4 licensees in India, one is making API, 3 are buying the API and making the finished formulation from that company. So, for open competition, you need a few more API suppliers who also do finished formulations, is what we call, start to finish kind of, integrated manufacturing, as we call, to bring prices really low. So I think, yes, the voluntary license opened the door to getting the generics into the market, but we need to do much more open competition. There's no reason to abandon the patent opposition, the reason to strengthen the patent oppositions as Indian civil society and work with our colleagues in Brazil and others to strengthen them. So I just wanted to highlight these points. And I hope I wasn't too long at it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Leena. There's a question for Nehal as well on, without a national PrEP program in India, what are the practical challenges you foresee in rolling it out, especially for those who need it?
Yeah, it's a very good.
So I'll come to Chet. Yeah, go ahead.
Leena, you want to say something?
No, please go ahead, Nehal. Yeah, I can
Okay.
do it after you. No problem.
Yeah. Okay. So without national program implementing, Lena, is going to be. I just can't even imagine how it's going to happen. The main reason. I mean, there will be a lot many barriers, but main thing is about even awareness. Right now, we need to realize that since late 2000, there is no awareness HIV awareness program is been implemented in India since quite a long time. Earlier, when I was growing up, I could see a triangle condom ad in the theaters. There were billboards were there. People who were born after 2000, they do not know much about HIV. Whatever they know is only through the Google Baba. And Google Baba has his own, interpretation of everything. And now every single person at the rural area also has everything at their fingertips. And at that particular time, we need to realize that if Lena comes to India without national program, it would be really difficult in terms of the awareness, in terms of the access of the program, in terms of the identification, in terms of the who needs it, who doesn't need it, because we need to realize it's not for everyone. It's only for someone who needs it or someone who demands for it. So there has to be a proper demand generation through the prevention literacy and and the awareness literacy.
Chitali, you wanted
Thanks,
to make a point?
thanks, Nehal. We've
But
got
I'm
two
dying
hands
to make
up.
a point. I'm dying to make a point. You know,
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Eldridge.
Go ahead. I see your hand up. Yeah.
I'll
Sorry,
come
Chitali,
after you.
I'm jumping the queue.
No.
I just wanted to say this, that, the brilliance about access to medicine activism often is that we recognize it jumpstarts things among all of us, right? Um, and no one was talking about PrEP before this activism came around on lenacapavir. No one was talking about the fact that it was not available free of cost from the program. There were PrEP guidelines, availability in the private sector, where a few handful of community members were getting it. Sex workers were definitely not getting it. And I think what this activism brings to the table is an opportunity for us not only to work on access to generic lenacapavir, but it brings an opportunity to have a dialogue with the government about the need to provide it free of cost and to provide it within the key populations. We've got rapid testing at the moment, so it's a real complementary tool to introduce PrEP. So I think activism is good. It's a great opportunity to use lenacapavir activism to jumpstart the question of, should India introduce PrEP as a public health tool? Is it covered under the right to health? Is the denial of PrEP, undermining of the right to health? And what should we do as communities to make sure that people who need it most get it? And at the same time, the registration of lenacapavir will benefit people who need salvage regimens. And I think this is the underlying message I would make again and again, for solidarity in the community. Yes, there are many problems. The rollout will have challenges. We are going through a massive funding cut from various sources across the world. But, the activism is still there, and we can all sort of in solidarity work with each other. And perhaps even what, the member from Alliance said, that, because of the activism, we reach out and start actually working in partnership with community-based organizations, which we should have been doing right from the beginning at the global level. So I think this is a great moment for us in World AIDS Day to get that conversation going about right to health, and the constitutional obligation to provide PrEP as part of it in the HIV program. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Lena. That's a good reminder. With the rapid testing, you're talking about what we all do in our targeted interventions. We're doing community testing, and we're testing people who are at high risk. So when we find that they're negative, they automatically qualify for PrEP. And this is an ideal way to at least begin the process. Chaitali has a hand up too. You have something to ask? Or
Yeah, Loon, Eldred, there was a question in the chat where Ramya had asked that Gilead has not registered the product in India. It's slow regulatory filing in India. How does it delay generic availability and blocks generic manufacturing? So, Ramya, I'd just like to bring the point here that it's not slow in regulatory filing. Gilead is not filed in India at all. So, the problem is that according to Gilead, to quote it saying that they say that we do not have enough people in our organization to do the regulatory filing globally. Considering India is one of the very big markets, it is saying we do not have people to go ahead with the regulatory filing. Coming to the second point, how does it delay generic availability and block generic manufacturing? If we talk from a regulatory perspective, there is no originator product in India, so there is no reference standard for generics. So in that case, what CDSU treats the generic also as a new drug. So like Hetero filed its application, it will treat it as a new drug and not a generic, which will indirectly lead to heavy data requirements for the person who comes forward to file an application. The second point is, without an originator registration, CDSU often requires a full phase clinical trial. phase 3. And exactly in this case, this is what CDSCO did, that they asked for a clinical trial. But there is a thing in that according to India's new clinical trial rules, there are under 75(2) and 101, if a drug is approved by stringent regulatory authorities like US, UK, Canada, Europe, and Japan, and plus if it is for four purposes: rare diseases, defense purposes, or it represents some advanced care and treatment, like in the case of lenacapavir, it fulfills both the requirements. In those cases, CDSU could have easily given a waiver for both these drugs, for the lenacapavir application that was filed by hetero. So this delay in filing a regulatory is indirectly burdening the Indian generic manufacturers to another, to I think, to put in another gap in it that Gilead is strategically playing. If there is no registration, the CDSU burden requirements automatically kind of become heavy on the generic manufacturer who files it. So that is what exactly happened in this case. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Chaitali. We have a hand up by Kaushalya. Kaushalya, go ahead.
I have a query actually for this prevention, the PrEP. For discordant couple, we cannot use it.
Use it for discordant couples. In fact, Kaushalya, it's a very useful tool for discordant couples.
Okay, then it should be in the advocated for positive people also, because the pregnancy, there is many discordant couple are coming up in the newly. So there is also positive there couples. That's also happening. So why not they can be advocated for this? Sorry.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kaushalya, for making
Kaushalya.
the great, absolutely brilliant point that, people who are, partners, one is HIV positive, one is HIV negative. The HIV negative can actually take long-acting injectable PrEP twice a year. Yeah. With 100% efficacy, yeah, in prevention.
We don't seem to have questions anymore.
Eldred,
Yeah,
yeah, just want to echo what Chitali said. See, the hypocrisy of Gilead. They give VL but not file regulatory approval. What does that mean?
that means they are game players.
Yeah, they're game
They,
player.
they play the game better than you and me. We are just learning.
Yes, they have been all the time. This I tell to IP Flock and ITPC also all the time. This when they give voluntary license to the product which is not patented, which they do in Sophosbuvir, they're always a step ahead of us. And it's time now, the civil society, we wake up and do something. And Chitali just said that they're not filing the regulatory approval, but give voluntary license. What theory?
I
Okay.
have another question. See, might be in the future the same medicines can be used for cure. Same kind of chemical can be. I don't. Sorry.
Eldred, we also have a hand from one of the participants.
I'm trying
Janab.
to catch that. Yeah. It says participant, but Janvi. Okay. Janvi, please go ahead.
Yeah, my question isn't like no, as the Skosalda has asking for the discordant couples, but my question is why always we are become a guinea pig with the Gilead people. Like Gilead is always like make guinea pig for the long time, not for this medicine lenacapavir, for the others also. So I think. Oh, what I feel, because before lenacapavir, there is a PrEP, as Loon has said. There is a many way we have the protections, like for condoms, the PrEP medicines, the oral pills. But we are running away with lenacapavir. So that is my things why we are not promoting the other medicine, because NACO has not started till now. Even the PrEP is not given to others. Now, do we think that lenacapavir is comes to the market and NACO is going to be give it to us? That's my questions first. And secondly, only my concern is in, like, people who have, like, okay, lenacapavir will help us to reduce like HIV infections. But what about the other diseases, like sexual transmitted diseases? If people are getting that injections in any way, they will won't come for the other STI diseases for the hospital. That's my concerns. So how we're going to cope with these situations?
Well, I said before, or Lena, would you like to take that?
Interesting conversation, and I think there are two parts of it. So, Janvi, just to, sort of clarify the point, this was a clinical trial where marginalized communities actually participated in Latin America, in South Africa, many other countries. And what they are asking about is post-trial access, which is a very key ethical question that we have all been talking about in public health. That the clinical trials happen, we participate, and particularly in this case, sex workers, transgender, gay men, cisgender women, everyone participated. Data was created based on that, and based on that, Gilead registered in the US FDA and had a very high price for it. So I think it's very important uh, 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 to frame it properly, because this guinea pig issue has then derailed many public health tools such as the HPV vaccine, for example. We should raise concerns about how clinical trials are conducted, but we should also raise concerns about how we participate in clinical trials and we don't have post-trial access. So I think it's really very, very important to frame it correctly. Number two is this: that's precisely what we have been saying on PrEP. When we came into the lenacapavir, when we started to work on lenacapavir, when a number of global activists asked us to work on lenacapavir because it was important for the HIV program, is that we cannot talk about lenacapavir without talking about access in India. So, Janvi, someone asked, can't we just export the drug from India? It doesn't have to be provided in India. It doesn't have to be approved in India. And I said, no. Yeah, we have to work side by side to make sure the drug is available in India as well as, globally, other LMICs. So I think these are key questions. We don't have all the answers, Janvi. And it depends upon how different groups take up the advocacy at the national level to make just PrEP just PrEP as a rollout as a necessity. Then different options can be discussed, as you said, Janvi. It can be the oral PrEP, it can be, different prevention tools. And lastly, I wanted to say, for women who cannot negotiate safe sex, how can we as women forget that not in every situation can we get the man to wear a condom and have sex with us? Have we forgotten the kind of sexual violence, domestic violence we face? So therefore, in those situations, that's also a situation for sex workers sometimes. You can't negotiate safe sex in every space in your working space. And therefore, yes, condoms are absolutely brilliant, they're really important. But why can't we also provide PrEP? So condoms plus PrEP is the way we see it, just as STI screening and treatment would be. So we are not saying it's either or. We are saying it is an additional tool. PrEP is an additional tool to condoms. And I think this is really absolutely crucial conversation we need to have among all of us. Yeah.
Thank you, Lena. I just want to remind all the participants that there's a letter in the chat, and those who would like to join and agree with it, and they can sign it on. It's about the waiver, which I spoke of right at the start of the meeting, and it's a letter to the drug controller. So please check it out. And if you feel you would like to be a part of it, I would request you to add your signatures or your organization name. There are some hands up for a long time. I don't know if we haven't put the hands down yet. Nehal, you have a question?
I do not have a question. I just wanted to add what Lena had said,
Okay,
and
go ahead.
just in one sentence is that it is not this or that. There is no comparison between condom or Lena. We are not. I mean, no one is ruling out condom and putting Lena onto it. It has to be historically and in research. It has been proved that one prevention method is not working out, particularly with the high risk behavior communities, and there is the reason we need to try a combination and competition of 2 or 3 prevention method, which will work particularly for the high risk behavior communities, and that is the reason Lena or the oral PrEP are the best options. We just need to make sure when it comes in a national program through a proper regulatory mechanism and at a good price. Thank you.
Yeah, Lena is a game changer because if at a good price, it takes away the stigma, it takes away the problem of adherence, and there are many, many benefits to it as well. So I don't see any more hands up. Rajni, are there any more questions that you can see?
No. I mean, actually
Australia
now,
has a hand up.
yeah, I just see a participant, Vash.
Kaushalya's hand has been up, but
The thing is condom already Lena said in the even the married relationship the same thing only for discordant couples. So it's happening in a positive negative person turn to positive. It is happening.
there's a Sam Prasad. You have a question, Sam Prasad?
Yeah, I'll read. This is Dr. Sam. I think we can go on discussing about many things, but then, okay, one of the action points that I'm seeing is about the letter. Also, I work for AIDS Healthcare Foundation, so we have been part of the parent opposition, as Lena would know. We are working closely with her. But during the pharma, Gilead and the global pharma meet, we have been having our mobile billboards, electronic mobile billboards with blood on your hands, Gilead, shame on you, bring the prices down. Campaign is happening across London. It was there active. It is available, on the internet, and we are going to increase the campaign throughout the 50 countries that we work in. So, what is the next action point? I mean, one is this, but then what is next? I would like to, hear from, all the panelists or anybody what we want to do next, because this is an urgent matter. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I didn't recognize you by your first name. Apologies.
No, it's been a long time. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you and nice seeing you.
Okay, great. So, we've already talked about some of the next steps. One is, of course, that letter we want to sign. So we're going to work on waiving these clinical trials. That's one of the steps. We're already working on educating the communities because some of them don't even know about, twice yearly injectables available. And they need to be educated because how can they ask for something that they don't know about? So they are the ones who have to make the demand. So demand generation is important, and we have to also push for the Indian government to take concrete steps. But let the other panelists, Lena, you'd like to come in?
Sorry to be speaking so much today, but it's been a whole day of work on HIV prevention. And I just wanted to simply say that, yes, the clinical trial waiver is absolutely essential, both for registration, for availability, and starting the discussion with NACO, frankly, about can we revisit the decision on not rolling out PrEP. And I think this is where we are at the national level, Sam. We can't be left behind. It would be a tragedy if, the rest of the world, South Africa and others, rolled out PrEP with Indian generics, but, people themselves, the most vulnerable in India, were left behind from accessing it. So discussion post-approval to include it in the guidelines, and also discussion about providing it free of cost and not through private clinics only, is absolutely the next step for India. And lastly, I would say is this, that, everyone who has worked in solidarity when the antiretroviral treatment was being patented by Gilead, and then, sofosbuvir for Hep C was being patented in Gilead. Then reach out and support the work and the advocacy and the communication that groups do around challenging the patent opposition. Is absolutely. Please share articles that highlight the point that these patents should not be granted. Share it with the policymakers, in NACO and other places. All of this is solidarity work that we need to do with each other on those who are doing the patent oppositions. Yeah. And then Loon, yeah.
Eldred, first, I think there's a question and answer question. I think if you look at it, Alok is asking something. Someone can respond it. Chetali, what would be the implication of Gilead filing regulatory approval if they don't file for whatever reason? What would be the implication? You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah. Loon, as I just answered when Ramya was asking, that when the originator does not register the product in India, then India does not have any local reference product. So if you understand from a generic perspective, it is approved by comparing itself to an already approved originator. In this case, because Gilead has not approved the product, no branded Yestugo is there in India. So the regulatory people also do not have any data with them. So in that case, what is the process is that it will create the burden or the requirements on the generic who files the application for the approval. So in this case, like Gilead, Hetero filed for a waiver application. So they rejected it, saying and asking for more trials, which is generally the protocol. But they did not consider the rules that are currently in place for the new drug and clinical trials. They should have provided a waiver based on the two criterias. But as CDSU, this is a strategic thing that normally they do, that they don't register, and then the generics will be overburdened with the data requirements.
2 days ago, we are speaking with hetero people in Zoom, and we asked this after what you said in Hyderabad about this when they reject this clinical trial waiver. So, and there are 3 Indian companies. So, are they going to all of you ask, or as a group you're going to ask? And what the response I got was they said if India government waive one clinical trial, let's say to hetero, it will be waived to another 2.
Right. So Loon, there are 4 actually: MCure, Hetero, Mylan, and Dr. Reddy's. Now they have not waived for Hetero. So the others will also be in the same line, because a waiver in this place would have been a waiver for everyone. So that is there in place. But now I think there is also a process that is there at CDSU. Once it is rejected, it opens the door for, like, there is a 60-day period, as I am sure, that for filing an appeal and then open the round for discussions. So I think Hetero should probably take that chance, open their gates for discussion, and then we should. And at the same time, it's very important for us to push for this, that India must grant a waiver. Because, as Dina said, Purpose 1, Purpose 2, Capella trials, all of them have a lot of substantial population of Southeast Asia as well as South Africa. So you look at the subtype of HIV, 97% is same in South Africa and India. Plus the comorbidity is also the same. So in that case, a little more pushing on it, we could make it to that, I think. So that is also important for us. Lena, you want to add?
Say this, that, I think Western activists always sell this idea to us that, originator must file first. I don't agree. Hundreds of generics have been, new drugs have been registered by generics first. And the Indian FDA has simply relied on the fact of registration elsewhere and the data that's been published. May not be complete data, but they have done it. They've done it in the case when not a single originator would come to India to register. We did tenofovir that way. We've done a ton of drugs that way. The regulatory pathway in India exists. If the originator doesn't file, the generic can still do it. The question is, did hetero clearly state the grounds for a waiver? That's a question I have for hetero. We should be very clear that there are certain grounds on which a waiver, it's not just about 5 stringent regulatory authorities. Is this a major therapeutic advance? A major significant advance over currently available options? That's a question we need to answer. We've had people with Indian ethnicity involved in South African and other trials. Do we really need to repeat the local clinical trial, and what are the ethics of repeating a trial, which, that money can be used for translation research and so on. So I think we really need to be very clear that even if the originator doesn't do it, we pathway, because this whole issue of linkage keeps coming up again and again and again. And I just wanted to say that it's nice system, in India, not to have that linkage, and let's stick to it if we can. Yeah. Not in a hurry for lenacapavir to throw the whole system out. Yeah.
Just adding one more point, that India has granted waivers previously also. This is not the first time they are going to grant a waiver for
generics.
So phase 3. So there are precedents where it is granted waiver for a lot of other drugs. So we are not asking something which is an outlier. So they have done it and they should do it, I think.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank all the panelists. We've come to, I think the schedule has come to an end. If there are questions, I'm sure all the panelists are open to taking questions in their personal capacity at any time. You have all our contacts, and anyone is free to approach any of the panelists for questions. I thank each of the panelists and thank all the participants for the active participation and being with us through this 1.5 hour and asking so many questions to make it more robust as a discussion. This is just the beginning. We are on the road now, and we hope that this will gather some strength, because this is a long fight and we have to take it to the end. So once again, reminding you all, those who are willing to, sign on this letter, that's one of the outcomes, I suppose, of taking this waiver for clinical trials. So you all can add your names, your organization names. And I thank everyone. Thank Rajni, who's taken so much trouble to set this up from Brazil, and everyone at TWN for yesterday's briefing as well. And all my panelists, Leena, Loon, Chaitali, Nehal, thank you very much. And good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.